When it comes to affordable, lightweight, rear-wheel drive sports cars, the Subaru BRZ is one of the few choices out there. In fact, as a driving enthusiast, I was absolutely thrilled when the company decided to introduce an all-new second-generation model back in 2022. Now for 2024, Subaru is looking to take the BRZ to the next level with the introduction of this model here. This is the brand new 2024 BRZ TS, which TS stands for Tuned by STI. And to drive this brand new version, we're actually out here in beautiful Sicily, Italy. And the big question I want answered, has Subaru managed to create the ultimate BRZ with the introduction of this TS? Stay tuned to find out. So before we start talking about the exterior styling changes with the ultimate version of the BRZ, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you thought that this thing had a turbo engine under the hood because it's been tuned by STI. Sadly, I'm here to report that Subaru refuses to put a turbo under the hood because they actually think it's going to ruin the car, because remember, this is a lightweight rear-wheel drive sports car that's designed to have just the right amount of power. Now, of course, we all know that this car got more power when they redesigned it, so this is the same 2.4 liter boxer flat four with direct injection. It still makes the same power at 228 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are a healthy 23 more versus the prior generation. Remember, there was a TS version of the previous generation, but Subaru only built about 500 of them. That model had around 205 horsepower with the manual transmission, which it only came with. It all goes out through rear wheels only. Remember, this is the only Subaru that is rear wheel drive. It also includes a mechanical limited slip differential, and the TS version only comes with a 6-speed manual. Now, the other big change for 2024 is the fact that you can get the manual with Subaru's EyeSight driver assist technology. Before, that was limited to the automatic transmission, but now Subaru is making it available on all the manuals, but the TS technically is the first BRZ manual to get that driver assistance feature. And fuel economy, in case you guys are wondering, is rated at 20 in the city, 27 on the highway. Premium is recommended to get the full power. This has roughly a 13.2 gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 250 to 300 miles of range on a full tank. Now, Subaru doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. That's not necessarily the mission of a vehicle like this, but we got just under 6 seconds in our testing of a limited trim a couple years ago, so we'll retest it at some other time. Top speed should be around 135-ish miles per hour. Subaru didn't have the exact figure, so I'm kind of estimating here. In terms of the curb weight, this is still one of the lightest new vehicles that you can buy, and this model here comes in at just under 2,900 pounds. It's literally like a paltry 20 pounds more versus the standard BRZ. But let's go ahead and close up this hood, which, as you can see, is held up by a prop rod. It's also extremely light, and talk about the exterior styling of this vehicle. Now, as you can see, the front fascia of this car looks pretty much identical to the other BRZ versions, although it did get a new front end. You can see it's got this new badge here where it says BRZ TS. Remember, TS stands for Tuned by STI. There's also, I believe, an unpainted area here for the front splitter. It's also a little bit more pronounced, a little bit more aggressive. You can see over here, there are some fake and functional vent openings. I kind of prefer the front fascia still of this car's platform mate, the Toyota GR86. You can see the headlights are full LEDs, where you have an LED low and high beam, LED daytime running light, LED turn signals. They're also swiveling adaptive headlights. And you can see for the TS version, there's also a red script there that says BRZ in the actual headlight assembly. It's a nice little detailed touch that I think some people may or may not notice, but again, it makes this car look a little bit more special. The hood is pretty much the same. It has the same kind of pronounced hood bulges. I would have liked to see perhaps like a hood scoop or some kind of like a different bulgier hood, but again, the powertrain is left completely unchanged. Now, moving around to the side profile of this vehicle, this is one of the smallest new cars that you can buy, with a wheelbase of around 101.9. Its overall length is just shy of 167 inches. For how small this car is, a Miata, one of its main rivals, is still about 9 inches shorter, so it's kind of crazy to think. But you can see here, the biggest change you're going to notice are the wheels. Now, the wheels have a similar design to a limited BRZ, but they kind of have like this dark graphite gray finish. They're an 18-inch wheel with a multiple spoke design. The brakes, however, have been upgraded with this car. They're actually about an inch larger versus the standard BRZ at just under 13 inches, and you have these upgraded 4-piston Brembo brakes with a fixed caliper. You can see it's painted gold as well. That's exclusive to the TS trim with the Brembo script. Those larger brakes are going to improve the track performance of this car, and this vehicle also gets an upgraded suspension with dampers built by Hitachi, which is a big change versus the dampers built by Sachs in the previous generation. This has also been tuned by STI, so Subaru is claiming this is going to be the best handling styling and best performing version of the BRZ, which we're looking forward to driving this vehicle later on during the video. Now you can see the mirrors here are painted gloss black. Same thing with the roof antenna. That's also something that Subaru did only for the TS version. There's not any chrome accents here, as you can see, which is definitely nice. No sunroof is still available on this car. And then coming over to the rear of the vehicle, this is where I'm kind of sad actually, because Subaru used to put a massive wing on the previous 2018 BRZ TS. They said that wing was costly because it was made from carbon fiber. It drove the price up. So instead, Subaru actually said that they decided not to go with the wing, which the company claimed that they actually did another TS back in 2018 that didn't have the wing. So without the wing here, as you can see, the rear looks pretty much identical to the other BRZ models. I really like the built-in duckbill spoiler that you get back here on the trunk, although the GR86, the Toyota version, has a more pronounced duckbill spoiler. You still cannot get that on the Subaru version of this car. The taillights you can see are full LED design. LED turn signals as well. There's a lot of badging back here, including the big BRZ TS badge. I would also like to see Subaru kind of offer a blackout badge package. And then down here you can see this is a US spec car, even though we're out here in Italy. The dual exhaust system is actually the same. I was hoping that Subaru would do kind of like an STI tuned performance exhaust. They may eventually offer that from the dealer at some point, but it still has a really nice, clean, classic look. For those of you who are looking for a sports coupe, you really can't beat this overall design. Now, looking at the trunk, this is a standard size trunk. It's not like a hatchback or anything. And the BRZ still offers a maximum of 6.3 cubic feet of space. Now, 6.3 is not a lot. The seats, thankfully, do fold down in one piece, it looks like, and then underneath the floor here, there is no spare tire. It looks like you just get a fix-it-flat kit with an air compressor, but overall, you do still have more storage space in the actual back seat, and you can fold it down, so this is still more practical versus something like a Mazda Miata. Now moving on to the interior of this BRZ TS. For all the changes that Subaru made on the outside, they also made very little changes to the interior. Now, stepping inside, this car starts out life as a limited trim, which was the top trim. The TS is now technically the top trim. As I get in and shut the door, the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, and really the biggest change you're gonna see is when you look at the actual materials in here. So you still have the two-tone leather and suede Alcantara, but instead of all of the red contrast stitching and accents, Subaru has replaced it with blue accents. You can see there's a blue stripe here, there's blue contrasting stitching over here, and then when you look at the door panels, there's also blue contrasting stitching. You still have that suede Alcantara at the top, there's a chrome door handle, and overall the door panel has some pretty decent materials. There are some hard touch plastic on right over here, and then the windows are one touch up and down, which is a nice touch. The steering wheel, as you can see, is basically the same steering wheel as the regular BRZ, aside from the blue accent stitching. I'm surprised they didn't want to put like an STI badge here, but remember, this is tuned by STI. It's not a full fat STI model. The only STI badge you're going to find in here is right here on the start stop button. This is the only difference, again, with the regular BRZ, is that red branded start stop button. So if I put my phone or put the clutch in, start the vehicle up, you can see it has push button start, which is standard in every version of this car. And this car, again, I mentioned earlier, only comes with a manual transmission. Now here's the key fob for the vehicle. You can see this is Subaru's Intelligent Access Key, which is standard on the vehicle. It includes features like your lock, unlock, open up the trunk, and panic function. I don't believe Subaru offers phone as a key. I suspect the company is working on that, but as of today, you still can't get that feature. But other than that, the materials in here are pretty decent considering this is an entry-level performance car. You can see the dashboard has a soft touch injection molded plastic. Down here it is hard touch plastic, and then there's not really any kind of brighter color. So I wish that Subaru would have jazzed up the dash with a little bit more bright colors, like some aluminum look trim, some blue contrasting trim. The steering wheel itself, as you can see, it is a manual tilt and telescoping. It offers a good amount of adjustability and range. The seats themselves are also manual. You have kind of like a 6-way manual adjustment here for the driver where you can move it forward and back. You can raise the height. You can also recline it, obviously. There's no adjustable lumbar for this vehicle, but because it's based on a limited trim, you are going to get heated seats. You can see there's 2-level heated seats, either high or low. These switches literally look like they came out of a Subaru from a decade to 2 decades ago. Over here, you can see more buttons to control or turn on and off the stability control. There's also a track mode in the stability control setting, along with completely shutting it off itself and completely. And then over here on the center stack, you can see the infotainment system basically hasn't changed. This is the older Subaru Starlink head unit where it's an 8-inch display. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's not wireless like what you find in some of their newer products with the bigger 11.6-inch display. So you have to connect it via a wired connection. You have dual zone automatic climate control here that's included with the limited trim, along with some actual hard buttons, which is nice. Some big knobs here to adjust the climate control, and you actually have knobs for the volume and the tuning control. When you put the vehicle into reverse, you can see pull up on this little ring to go to reverse, you can see the backup camera isn't anything super special. It does include trajectory and distance markers, and the resolution is not horrible, but if you're looking for like a top-down 360 camera, don't expect to find something like that, along with like a heads-up display. The mirror here isn't even auto-dimming, which would be a nice touch. I believe you can get it as a dealer accessory. The roof panel here, you can see, has some map lighting here, but it's not LED. There's a fairly good amount of headroom space, where Subaru, again, wanted to make sure that this car had enough headroom where you could wear this vehicle with a helmet for those track days. That's probably why they don't offer a sunroof, because it also would compromise the structural integrity. Down here you can see you still have the manual pull style handbrake, which is great for those of you who want to do some drifting. Over here on the center stack, you can see that closes up. It's a nice padded center console area here, or you find your 2 cup holders with your 2 USB ports over here, some hard touch plastic material. So again, it's not luxurious interior, but it is very functional, and it also has great sight lines. And it's relatively easy to live with. The glove compartment you can see here is a bin style, and it's huge. Actually, it's very large considering this type of class of vehicle and how small it is on the outside. And then remember, this car does have a back seat. So I'll go ahead and get into the back seat to kind of entertain that for you. The lever is actually up there to push the seat forward, and you can see it's manual. It's also here on the driver's side. However, as you can see on the driver's side, the seat doesn't slide forward, so you actually have to kind of manually push the seat forward. And then there's like 2 little jump seats back here, which I'm 5'7", so I'll just get back here to show you guys if somebody my height can actually sit back here. Now, obviously, I'd have to move this seat back, and I can't because it's the driver's seat and it's manual, but for somebody my height to get back here, my head is basically touching the roof. I have to kind of cock my head over to the right because there's not very much headroom space. If you're also of wider frame, you're not going to fit in here very nicely. Materials are all pretty much hard touch plastic. And for a 2+2 vehicle, Subaru really should have put some kind of armrest here with additional cup holders. There's like empty space here, so that would have been nice. Remember, this back seat is really only here for emergencies in a pinch, or you can fold it down and use it as additional cargo carrying space, which is something you're not going to find in this car's main rival, the Mazda Miata. So welcome to Italy. We are on the big island, basically Sicily. It's called Sicily, and we're here because Subaru wanted us to experience the roads that used to be for the Targa Florio, which is the oldest race apparently in the world. It ended in 1977, started in 1906. While Subaru obviously didn't make cars at the time, they did have 2 vehicles that raced in the race, and they were 2 WRX models. But we are here starting off in the BRZ, the TS model. And this model here, again, it got no upgrades in terms of the powertrain, but Subaru has upgraded everything else in terms of the handling dynamics. So this is actually my first time driving in Italy. I've got Rob, my videographer, sitting next to me shotgun. So bear with us while we deal with the road conditions and the traffic here in Italy. I will say that people in this country drive extremely fast. They get really close to you, and then you get stuck behind these slow, really slow toy cars that are...
He's trying. He probably has 1 cylinder to work with.
He's literally trying to get up this hill. But anyways, this BRZ TS, so this is the reintroduction of this car since 2018, when it was basically offered as a limited production vehicle. Subaru thankfully only offers it with the 6-speed manual transmission. We have the 2.4 liter Boxer Flat 4, making 228 horsepower, and as soon as I can try to find an area where I feel comfortable passing this guy, I will.
You got him right here after this turn.
Oh, wait, he's turning. Yay! So it's funny to me to be in a country or driving a vehicle like this, because the BRZ is known as a small car in America, but here in this country, it feels big, it feels wide, it has a very low center of gravity. In fact, Subaru says at 17.9 inches, the center of gravity is actually about a ½ inch lower than the C8 Corvette, and you definitely feel that. This is a wonderful car to drive on curvy back roads like this. It just has a really great balance to it. It feels very, very adept or just capable in, you know, curvy roads like this. And even though we don't have more power, we do have a new Hitachi suspension system. We have upgraded Brembo brakes, 4 pistons in the front, 2 pistons in the rear. And I will say that the ride quality of this vehicle, even though on these crappy roads here in Italy, surprisingly decent. The steering feels nice and sharp. Subaru says they've retuned it for better feel, better responsiveness, and the car just feels really nimble. I mean, the TS model just takes everything that you like about the BRZ and just dials it up to 11 in terms of the handling capabilities, in terms of just sportiness, in terms of fun. And I'm going to be kind of driving a little more cautiously because we are coming up onto some of these roads where I don't really understand what the signs mean. But Subaru warned us that there are parts of the road where you might see debris, you might see parts of the road collapsing underneath you. So I'm going to be a little more cautious. I won't be able to do a 0 to 60 here because we are also measuring in kilometers per hour. But I will say that the manual in this car is still wonderful. Subaru actually says that about 75% of BRZ shoppers, buyers, choose the manual. And that's a wonderful thing to see, especially in a world where manual transmissions are disappearing. We now, of course, also have Subaru's EyeSight driver assistance tech included with the manual transmission, which is not something that you could get previously. So it's great to see. Here we go, are coming up on another BRZ. So
a random red light?
A random red light. I guess this is for the road work that's here.
Well, because it's closed down to one lane, so yeah.
But in terms of, just sitting in this car, the seats are the same. They just have some blue stitching and they're pretty nicely and aggressively bolstered. I do wish that the steering wheel looked a little bit more unique. I mean, yes, we have the blue stitching here, but I would have loved to see maybe some Alcantara, a flat bottom design, something to give me a little more sportiness, maybe even an STI badge on the wheel. But other than that, it feels very much familiar. You get a really great view out of the vehicle in terms of visibility. Subaru's always had great visibility. I won't be able to test out the driver assistance, of course, today because the EyeSight system, these are US spec cars. They have been certified and tested on US roads, not on Italian roads. That's the reason why the lane departure alert is off, because the camera can't really see it quite as well, considering the roads here are just much narrower and different. But overall, it gives you a great first impression. But we're gonna hopefully get going here soon and see what the rest of the handling dynamics is like. That was actually perfect timing. I swear I didn't do that on purpose. So as you can see, the weather is not perfect here in Italy today. Yesterday when we first flew in, it actually was much better weather. Today it's been rainy, cloudy, windy. It's almost like a storm has been kind of rolling in over the island. I call it an island, but it's a huge piece of land. And remember, the BRZ only comes with rear-wheel drive. This is the only rear-wheel drive Subaru in the lineup, and it has a limited slip differential. It's got Michelin Pilot Sport 4 summer tires, and there's a pretty good amount of feedback coming through the steering wheel, which is not something you experience in a lot of modern cars today. But this car just feels lightweight. I mean, it literally weighs like maybe 20 pounds more than the regular BRZ, so this is one of the lightest new cars you can buy at under 2,900 pounds. So yes, it could Subaru have put a turbocharger in this engine? Absolutely, they could have, but again, Subaru stresses that it'll ruin the balance of this car, and that's kind of something that I agree with, because this car has just the right amount of power where you should be able to get to 60 in under 6 seconds if you really get the launch right. Wow, I did not mean to do that, sorry, Rob. But yes, the stability control works wonderfully there. I have it on. But yes, you could probably do under 6 seconds with the right launch, the right tires, the right conditions. That's not the point of a car like this. The point of this car is to just kind of enjoy the drive, find your favorite back road, enjoy the lightweight of the car, enjoy the feel, the visceral feel, because again, cars like this are becoming few and far between. And it just makes me happy to see Subaru doing a second generation of this car and also doing an even harder version. Now, in terms of what they could have done differently or added, I kind of wish that Subaru would do active rev matching. That's something they still don't do with their manual transmission models. Again, if you're going to put EyeSight in this car, you may as well just add a little bit more tech into it to make the driving experience a little bit more pleasant, especially since manuals are becoming fewer and far between. But other than that, I'll have to wait until I get one of these back in the States where I can do some updated testing in terms of 0 to 60. But for those of you who have been waiting for a BRZ or thinking, I want to wait for the TS model, this one might actually be the screaming deal in the lineup, because again, it is only a couple thousand more than the Limited, and if you guys are replacing your old TS, this car is not really that much more expensive considering all the additional upgrades it gives you. So if you're a driving enthusiast, it's pretty hard to not love the Subaru BRZ, because this car is literally one of the most affordable ways to get into an affordable track car. With a starting price of under $30,000, with an approachable amount of power, easy tunability, and just affordability, this is a car that enthusiasts have been begging for, so really the fact that Subaru decided to give us an all-new second generation was a big deal. Now, after spending the day driving the TS version of this car, it's pretty clear that Subaru wanted to keep the original formula of the BRZ intact, but of course take the handling level to the next level because with the updated suspension, the updated brakes, this is going to be a better track car. And while of course I am a little disappointed that there is no turbocharger under the hood, Subaru again stresses that you're going to ruin the car if you slap a turbo underneath the hood. I suspect enthusiasts and tuners are going to do that anyways and essentially just swap out the motor from the WRX, because that's essentially what it is. It's a WRX motor without the turbo. Obviously that's something you could still do, and what's great about the TS version of this car for me is the understated look. Now I do wish that you could get like the duckbill spoiler from the GR86, or at least some kind of wing, but again, that's what the aftermarket is for. And if you guys are looking to get your hands on the TS version of the BRZ, this is going to be heading to Subaru dealerships in the US by January or February of next year, so very, very soon. You can actually already go to your local dealer and order one today. And pricing for the 2024 BRZ is a little bit more expensive, so it starts at around $30,195 for the base version. That includes the EyeSight driver assistance, of course, so that's why it's a little bit more expensive. Sadly, this car is no longer under $30,000. When you add the $1,100 destination charge, you're looking at around 32, just under 32 grand. The limited trim is around $33,000. The automatic's going to cost you an extra like $800 or so. The TS version is now the top trim, so it's no longer a limited production model. And this car is around $1,700 more versus the limited. So at a base price of around $35,345, a little over $36 if you guys add in destination charge. That sounds like a lot of money. I know we live in a world where a BRZ is around $36,000. However, I want to remind you guys that the original TS version of this car started at around $34,000 for the 500 units that were available. So we're talking about a car from 6 years ago that's only about $2,000 more expensive today if you guys want to buy this vehicle. So that's some pretty strong value coming into play. And I suspect if you're an enthusiast and you're looking for something like this, the ultimate version of the BRZ is going to be attainable, and it should be a really big hit when it hits dealer showrooms. So with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Subaru BRZ TS. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.